This is Renee Horaney with the Peoria Professional Show. Every Thursday, I introduce you to a local professional that you need to know. And this week, my guest is Curphy Smith. He is the owner and CEO of ACS Executives. And he has an interesting story, and I'll bet you didn't know that small businesses, when they start to grow, they actually can hire someone on a sort of part-time or contractual basis to help out with those major roles such as officer roles. So we're going to hear all about that today. Welcome, Curphy.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, nice to see you in person.
Yes.
We've been Facebook friends and LinkedIn connections for a
Yes.
long time.
Yes.
But you know, and that's the thing about social media is we can become aware of each other, but we don't necessarily know about our businesses because we don't just constantly talk about our own businesses and how we serve other people. But so I'd like to hear today, you know, first of all, what do you do? You mentioned that you have a team of about 6 people or so altogether, but how do you really help businesses?
Good question. We help business in a lot of different ways. As you mentioned before, you know, as companies grow, what we found, or what I found, was the CEOs take on a lot of the hats, right? The owners of the company usually are the great salespeople in the company, right? Mm-hmm. That's what they got into the business. There's a certain part of the business they love to do. In the meantime, they have other roles they have to take on, such as handling the bank relationships, the insurance contracts, you know, HR, what have you. So they end up being that type of person. And as their business grows, they continue, it becomes, you know, more and more stressful, a lot more responsibilities are put on them. But, you know, to hire a true professional, you know, you're looking at some of these roles, upper, you know, 75,000 to 100 plus, 6 figures roles. What we do is we try to come in and fill some of those gaps for them, take over some of those roles, you know, for their company on a contractual or fractional basis, or other options that we have for them.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm totally going to guess here, but I know a lot of small business owners, and I can only imagine that sometimes, like, they're sacrificing their own pay oftentimes. And so anything to make their business grow. And if they're not even making 100,000 a year, but they need the help and the expertise of that other person, the thought of paying somebody $75,000 or $100,000 to help them is like, there's no way that's going to happen.
And it doesn't make sense. I mean, it just really doesn't. You know, you sit there and look at some of those roles and you add them all up, it's not a full-time job. But where do you get that experience and expertise from? So that's where you're left out. And that's where I came up with the idea. The whole idea behind ACS Executives really started when I was in banking. I was in the financial industry for 14 plus years, dealing largely with commercial clients, walking into a lot of these small to medium-sized businesses and walking out a lot of those meetings thinking, man, if they just had someone in there to help them, it would probably really do them wonders. You know, you hear it all the time, and especially in a lot of those meetings was, you know, wow, I just don't have time for everything. Curphy, you know, there's just time is my biggest thing. And that's what we try to do at ACS Executives, is try to give some of that time back, make them start enjoying running their business. You know, the reason they got into the business was because they liked what they did. But as it grows, there's pains that come with that.
Right.
And we're here to try to help alleviate some of those pains.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of times, you know, the two different sides of our brain. There's the people who have the more creative, or then there's the people who are more numbers oriented. A lot of times these creative people are the ones who have the ideas. Oh, I have an idea.
Right.
I'm going to start a business and it sounds so fun. And, and that creative aspect of it is enough to get them in front of people. And as you said, they're usually pretty good at talking to people, you know, so they can get the business going, but it doesn't take long before they realize that they have to market their business. They have to manage the money, you know, responsibly and so forth. And sometimes, like I was in a meeting this morning, and this was a marketing professional, and she was talking about, you know, the numbers and advertising and where is the return. And you could just see like the stress on about 2/3 of the faces in there. They're just like, oh, I don't know this.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and it's, but there's no way that we can all do everything. And and it wouldn't be smart to do everything ourselves anyway, because that's not, we should be spending our time where our strengths lie.
Absolutely.
Right? And you can be more profitable. I know this, but you're going to agree. You can be more profitable if you're spending your time in your area of strength and letting someone else who's better at the things you're not as good at spend their time there, right?
Absolutely. Well, it's not even just being better, just kind of taking over that role, someone that you can trust. You know what? Hey, I know that you're going to get this job done. I've been wanting to get this done for a while. I've just had nobody to do it. I don't have the time to do it myself.
Yeah.
You know, from a lot of like CFO roles that we'll take, you know, obviously just going through someone's P&L and finding out where a lot of waste is. But it takes time to sit there and pick up the phone to sit there and say, all right, we're going to sit there with the contract negotiations with your insurance companies, or, you know, let's talk to your bankers. You know, a lot of this times a lot of the owners are being more reactive. When, you know, those type of agreements come to, when they come due, you just have to make a quick decision, right? Your health insurance benefits, they renew. Well, it renews, and you know what, you weren't on the ball, and guess what? Now you feel, you know, obligated to sit there and take that 35% to 67% we've seen increase because, you know, you waited till the last minute. If you have someone in there being, you know, who was acting as your CFO, who was in charge of something like that, they can start those negotiations 90 days prior and start getting out there to make sure, you know, you're working the numbers and trying to come up with any, you know, work with any increase or try to alleviate that increase as much as possible.
And another thing that comes to mind is the employees that they have, because I would imagine your clients, they've got a few employees, right? And so they need to be happy in their roles and feel that they're being productive and that they're valued and that they are able to live up to their own potential. So it could be that they just need to be doing what they're good at, or even, you know, making sure that they have the right benefits and so forth. And if someone's trying to do everything themselves, you know, or even maybe they have an unqualified, you know, manager, so to speak, that doesn't really have the highest level of expertise, then those employees who they may really appreciate may not be happy and leave. Whereas if you have somebody that comes in and starts doing these roles for them, you know, they can retain the good staff that they already have, I would imagine.
Absolutely. And you bring up several good points. You know, one is, you know, and the owner doesn't always see that because they're busy. Like we said, you know, they don't have much time on their hands. They're trying to do everything. They don't have a good grasp on the culture at hand of what's going on in the company and how people are really feeling about their company. And what we see a lot of times in these small businesses and even medium-sized businesses, even large businesses, your employers aren't going to tell you. Even your management's not going to tell you because they feel their job's at jeopardy if they were to say something like that. So you're not really getting that, you know, third-party outside point of view, which we bring that in. Since we're a contract employee, we're part-time. I always tell people, you hire us to debate you. We're not here to be your friends. We're going to tell you exactly what we see and exactly what we think it is. Give you the options, and you can make the decision. But at the end of the day, you're going to know that we at least looked at it from a fair point of view. You know, because at the end of the day, you know, we have other clients as well. So if, you know, it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But you know, you're going to get an honest opinion from us. I'm not, you know, we don't sugarcoat it for you.
Right.
And that's one angle. The other angle is, you know, you also, so as we grow, right, your company grows. A lot of people really don't focus, and I think a lot of mistakes that, you know, a lot of businesses make is they just start throwing people at problems rather than looking at the processes in general, or throwing more duties on the people they have. We come in there, if we take on a chief operating role or even, you know, a contract role, to kind of look at, you know, someone's operations, how they're running, how can we improve on those processes, and what is the problem-solving methodology behind that. To try to help them think a little bit differently when they're sitting there trying to come up with a different process or ideas.
Oh my gosh. So I imagine you have a lot of stories.
Yeah, I got a lot.
One that I would like to know is, do you have a story about a client who maybe didn't think that they needed your services, that they could do it all, and then you helped them, and what transpired after that?
Yeah, we've had several clients like that, you know, current and past clients. A current client I worked out with this morning, It was an individual I called on when I first started my company. He didn't really see a need for it. But as time went on, he just said, you know what, Curphy, can you come in and take a look at some things? You know, we've been with them for a while now, and, you know, we're seeing a much better improvement. We went in there and took a look at their finances, how they were reporting things. You know, from a financial perspective, I don't want to get too much in the weeds of things, but, you know, we were looking at stuff from, you know, they're supposed to be on an accrual basis, but part of the finances were, part of the finances were on a cash basis. Their revenue wasn't matching up to their cost of goods. So it was really hard to manage the company and make decisions based on the financial numbers they were getting. Where we came in there, started cleaning it up, and, you know, now we can sit there and look and identify, you know, by looking at the certain key performance indicators, where are the areas that we need to make a bigger impact, and where are the areas their company needs to really focus on as far as their processes to really, you know, improve on their bottom line. One of my clients now, we do what we call a subscription service. We meet with them once a month, you know, face to face, or we can do it virtual. It doesn't really matter. We go over key performance indicators for them based on their finances. We remote into their financial system that they have, and we kick out the information. We sit down with them, identify, you know, what those key performance indicators are, and identify, again, what are the problems. And then we lay out a plan for them saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to do, and we'll meet in another 2 weeks to talk about briefly on your progress. And then after that, you know, we'll meet on a monthly basis going through the results every single month.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And he, you know, the very first meeting, he was just ecstatic. This is what I need. I've never had anybody to lay it out like this for me and to hold me accountable. And that's what he wants most. I want you to hold me accountable every month.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you know, I'm not running your business. You're running your business. We're just there to help you, assist you. Again, that's a subscription service, and that's what it's basically. We call it a CXO subscription service. There's a little bit of financial stuff, and there's a little bit of operational stuff that we do for them. And we kicked in some things where we're doing the key performance indicators, and I have a team that does that for me. But, you know, it's a neat little service, and I think, you know, it makes a big impact.
Sure. You mentioned accountability, and I feel like no matter what it is that we want to change in our lives, accountability, it always comes down to that, because we have so many different things that we're trying to accomplish, you know, and having someone to hold you accountable, especially something as important as your business, you know, that's got to be a huge benefit to those clients of yours.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, and it's, you know, I always tell people, you know, it's, you know, you haven't failed. You've done something well. You've driven the revenue, but somewhere along the line, we've made some mistakes here and there. You know, one, you know, let's get your finances in an order where, you know, you're really looking at the way they're supposed to be looked at, and because you need to make those decisions based on those numbers that are coming back at you, and you need to be able to understand what those numbers mean, and so, you know, that's what we try to do.
That's really interesting. So if you were to describe like the one area of business that your clients need the most help in, what do you think that would be?
Wow. That's really hard. I mean, you know, it just depends, because I look at, you know, all of our clients that we've worked with in the past that we're currently working with. I mean, I would sit there and probably say it's, you know, it comes down to, you know, culture is a big one. And I don't think people really get that. The culture that they establish within the company really reflects and, you know, I believe trickles down to the rest of the company, and whether it's their business operations, whether it's their financial operations, whether it's the human resources, the sales team, whatever. It's all about the culture. And it can affect all that and blow it up if it's not the proper culture. You know, you could sit there and say, hey, here's the process, here's the systems, here's what we need to do. But if the culture's not there, it makes it difficult.
Yeah. That is amazing. That's not what I thought you were going to say.
Right? I know. You know, finance number guys, but
numbers wise, but it's fascinating that you mentioned that, because if you think of the companies that have really like been making the news, say in the last, you know, 8 or 10 years, they've been very different. You know, I think of like the Tom shoes, you know, like this is like a cultural shift that we've been making. And, you know, these companies, they want to give back, but that's not all the companies. That's probably not your average company that's starting. And so in our society, we're hearing these stories about these companies that have different goals and so forth.
Right.
And yet so from a person's perspective that is looking to do business with a company, maybe they're hoping to find a company that has, the attitude that they want to give back. And yet the people starting the business, maybe they haven't quite gotten up to speed with that, or don't even know how they would implement such a strategy and still be profitable.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and we'll go in sometimes when it comes to that type of role, and we'll give them our opinion. And a lot of times, someone gets promoted, because they do such a good job, and they still may lack that leadership or ability to get through to people and relate to them and be able to try to accomplish a goal that they want to accomplish, but do it in a positive manner. Because if you do it in a negative manner, it's just going to trickle down, and that affects people's jobs, and it affects how they, their output, and it affects, what they're going to put into the company, and it's going to affect their loyalty.
Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, we hear a lot about millennials, or, not making a judgment, but, that generation seems to really be making some waves. At least we're hearing, that we have to, adjust the way we deal with millennials or whatever. In your work, are you seeing that the generational thing is like I'm the last year of the baby boomers,
Right.
actually, you know what I mean? So like I think very differently, but it has that played a part or not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And millennials get a bad rap, whatever, right? It's the reality is they're very intelligent, way more intelligent when I came out of college, and I see that. Given the social media and everything that's at our fingertips, and the news is just like changing every second, that's how they think. They're constantly on the move. So I think with millennials, you have to keep them challenged, and you have to give them direction. But they're a very talented group out there, and it's yes, you hear the bad raps, millennials, what have you. But I just think keep them challenged, give them structure, but allow them to think within that structure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to be tough, I think, to have like as these businesses grow, people of different ages and experiences and so forth. I know when I went to college, I studied advertising and marketing right before the internet. Right. So then, I graduate and it's like, what is this?
Right.
And I don't know.
My wife was the same way. She graduated with photography and fine arts, and right before digital cameras and stuff like that. And she was the reason I got in photography because I love being in the dark room and I love all this. Well, guess what? That doesn't exist anymore.
I've heard that before. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty interesting. So, what would you advise these people who maybe aren't quite yet ready for the services that you provide, but to help them prepare themselves for that next step?
Right. You bring up a good point. I think if you're starting to think that way, you probably are ready for us. Okay. And what we try to do, and we kind of restructured our company a little bit to kind of help companies along the way in different stages. I made mention earlier, we have the subscription service, right? That's a very inexpensive service that you can provide, for us just to come in and take a look and get that third point of view and hold you accountable and set some goals. Or maybe there's some project work that you need done. You know what? I need you to come in, Curphy. We need bank financing. And we have just struck out trying to get the proper financing with the right banks. And we'll do that. We'll come in, take a look at it. And a lot of people don't understand from that angle is, it's not about your company. It is about your company. It's about, the way your finances look. It's the way how you present them to the bank. It's the way, are you presenting them to the right banks? And are you,
right.
Do you understand the steps that go within that loan committee or business loan center that you're presenting them to? And are you presenting them to the right banker? There's a bank for everybody, but not every bank is for everybody,
Sure.
depending on what stage your business is. So, we'll come in and do that. We've done that before, and where we've come into companies and they've just not been able to get the financing they want. And in, 60 days, we'll have 5 offers on the table for them, say, pick one. and they think and that's a phenomenal return for them. You know, someone that's struggling with cash flow now has the ability to go out and grow their business and not worry about making payroll next month. Then we have what we call our actual outsourcing service, our virtual CFO, Chief Operating Officer, HR, or sales, where we will take on the role as the CFO of your company or a Chief Operating Officer and work specifically on specific items that we'll lay out in our scope of work for you. You know, we can do some bookkeeping work and stuff like that on the back end. That's not a problem. We need us to go into your financial system and do some corrections, reconcile your finances on a monthly basis. We can do that. We can do business valuations as well. So our model is kind of like, you know, we're kind of there for the startups, someone that's growing, specific project work to take a look at your business or to come in and play that role. What comes next? What if we do get you to a point? Wow, that was great. And when you start growing, you do need a full-time person. We have an executive recruiting service that we just started up in the last 60 days where we will go out and find that replacement for us. If it comes to that point where we say, hey, you know what, this is too much. You need a full-time person. Finances make sense to bring them in. This could help you grow. Let's talk about replacing that individual. And so that's something that we just started up.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
That's cool. So, what do you think people need to, what's their first step? I mean, is it just to make a phone call? I think a lot of times they're afraid to make that phone call. Like, if that's the case, like, what do you have to say?
There's a lot of pride. You know what?
Okay.
They feel, I don't want people to feel that, hey, I'm calling you because I failed. It's not it. We all fail. I failed when I started my company. There's ways, the way we do business now is not how I did it 6 months ago. You know, I took a revamp of how I looked at it. I came to the realization and I said, hey, I need to start practicing what I preach, right? I can't do it all. And I need to start, you know, outsourcing and bringing some people in that could help me be more successful, which will help me help my clients be more successful. So yeah, just call us. You can, you know, reach us through our website. You know, it has our contact information, Facebook. You can message us. There's a lot of different ways to reach out to us, and it doesn't cost you anything to sit down and talk. And that's the way a lot of these relationships have started. Is we just sit down and talk. And I'll be the first to sit there and say, you know what, you don't need us, or I don't think this will be a good fit, and here's why. And we'll go through those and say, you know, if we think there could be a future fit, here's what needs to happen in the meantime. But you know, to get over that hump, just give us a call, sit down and talk. If there's something that you're sitting in your mind as a CEO saying, man, I just do not have time to do everything anymore, give us a call, and we can see if we'll be able to fill those gaps for you. Yeah. If not, refer you to someone that will, and I have no problem doing that.
Right. So do you feel that when people come to you that they have good goals in place, or do they maybe not even know what their goals really should be?
Both.
Okay.
Both. You know, a lot of times they'll sit there and say, this is what I want. I don't know how to get there. I don't understand why, you know, profitability isn't where it should be. You know, they're all over the board. And that's what we try to come in and try to paint a clearer picture for them.
Wow. Okay. Whoa, my gosh. This has gone so fast.
It has gone really fast. We don't get another half hour.
We could probably talk about this all day. I think business is so fascinating because everything that we have is because of a business, right? We're sitting on chairs that someone decided to make furniture for offices, you know, and I mean, everything. It's fascinating because we don't usually get to hear these stories of how the business is run and how it grows, especially. And that's where you really come in and help the businesses with their growth.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. That's absolutely what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, you know, whatever your objective is, and a lot of time it is growth, top line growth, your gross profit. You know, at the end of the day, you want to make more money, right? Yeah. And you know, I think a lot of the businesses, especially in Central Illinois, you know, they want to provide also, you know, a place for people to want to come work at. You know, they want to be the choice of employer, right? And in order to do that, you got to grow. And, you know, we're working with a company right now where we're structuring, you know, a profit sharing plan because we have, you know, created, you know, some different, you know, angles for them where they've, you know, grown the revenue stream, and he wants to give back to his employees. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And who doesn't want to work for somebody like that?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Well, so Curphy, why don't you share your website and the best way to reach you?
You can reach us at www.acsexec.com. We have Twitter, we have Facebook. Occasionally you'll see us throw some stuff out there in regards to helpful hints. So you can go out there, take a look at us. On there, there's a contact page. If you're looking for us, there's a quick assessment out there that you can take, that we could take a look at your business. If you don't want to meet and just want to do a quick assessment, go ahead and fill that out. We'll get that and take a look at it and schedule an appointment to meet with you.
Okay, and I imagine you're not going to be pressuring anybody into anything.
No.
You're very laid back personality.
Yeah, we take a very laid back approach. It's got to be good for both of us. And I'm not high pressured sales in this. We do not go out and sit there and try to force people to do business with us. We want to fulfill that need, and when you think you're ready for that to be fulfilled, then we'll try to do that for you.
Yeah. Well, you're building relationships.
Yeah.
And force never works with that.
Absolutely.
Right. So thank you so much, Curphy. Thanks
for having me.
Really fun talking to you and hearing more about how you're helping local businesses grow. And even you said you're expanding. It's not even just local.
Yeah, we're looking at a couple of projects outside the state. We've done one so far, and we've got a couple more on the docket here. So
okay, excellent. You must be doing something right.
Yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully.
Yeah. And I'd like to say thank you for watching. And if you know someone who is growing their business, but maybe could use some extra help, if you could share this video and we could introduce Curphy and ACS Executives to them, that would be wonderful. Appreciate you being here. See you next week.
PeoriaLife.com